Afternoon. I want to welcome everyone to the City of Little Rock Board of Directors agenda meeting for the June 10th, 2025 meeting to schedule everything for June 17th. We have one modification to the agenda. I want to share that with everyone. Any questions on items 1 through 10? Director Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's 1 through 10. Number 10, the resolution. I just wanted to ask, I guess it would be someone from the Housing Department. Thank you. All the information as far as notices about public hearings have been sent out according to HUD regulations, right?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Yeah. You know, I've gotten some information, I think you probably have too, about some individuals that are really concerned about HOPA
Yes, sir.
funds, but have we talked to those individuals?
Yes, sir, we did. We sent an email on last week, and he was satisfied with our response.
Okay. And so now are they on our mailing distribution list or email chain so they understand what the process is and they will receive notification?
Yes, sir, we did lay out the full disclosure of what goes on in the public hearings as well.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted that spoken for the record.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Ward?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to highlight item number 2. This is a signalization for Cooper Orbit and Canis Road, and that community has been waiting on a traffic light for probably 2.5 years. And so I hope the board approves it. My question is, once this gets approved, how long before the work will be completed? Any estimate on that?
Manish?
Good evening. So as soon as the board approves this, we'll sign a contract. We'll get the contract together, send it to the city attorney's office, and once the contracts are in place, we'll go into construction. I don't have an exact timeline for the project. I can look that up and get that back to you.
I'm just wondering, is it a 6-month project? Is it a year project? Hopefully it's the shorter of the two. I know
I
you've
don't
got
know
to
the
reroute intersections and all that stuff, so.
Yes, ma'am. So I don't know the exact timeline for the project, but I do know that we've ordered like signal equipment for that project because we know that there are some delays for signal equipment to arrive. So our staff already purchased those and they should be arriving before the contractor starts his work. So let me get that to you. I'll get an exact timeline and give you an approximate date when we'll start and finish the project.
And I think this is the one where the county is paying for part of it and the city's paying for part of it. I mean, I think it was a group effort to come up with the money for this. Maybe the developer's paying part of it.
I am not 100% sure about that.
Yeah, it was split 3 ways between the county, the city, and the developer. We
That's
all
what I
worked.
thought.
We all worked on that.
Okay, thank you.
Actually,
And that's-
you played a role.
That's right on the border of Ward 6 and Ward
Correct.
7, and it always shows up Ward 6. But
Correct.
anyway, we'll take it in Ward 6 if
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
where it
But I'll
is.
get you that
Okay,
information.
thank you very much.
But yes, everyone, that was a great partnership. I want to tip a hat to Director Hines as well as the county judge. We all worked together to do that. Any questions on items 11 through 13?
Mayor?
Director Miller?
Yes. On item 13, I have a question about that. Brad?
Yes, sir. Mayor, Board, good evening.
Is this a application for a short-term rental?
It is for, primarily it's for long-term rental, but it's also can be used as a short-term rental as well.
Yeah, I saw it's primarily for short-term,
Yeah.
but with this, if approved, that would go towards the number of short-term rentals that we have in the city. So
Yes, sir.
in effect, this is a short-term rental.
In effect, yes, sir.
Okay.
It would be added to that list, so yes, sir. It would be a short-term rental, but I think he's trying to leave his options open, the way I understand it.
Yeah, and I read it that way, but I want to make sure that when it was presented to the public, or certainly those residents around that area, that they knew in effect, this is a short-term rental.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you have no doubt that that was how it was notified? that this-
That's exactly how that was notified, yes, sir.
Okay, because that's the way I read it. Sort of like a curveball.
Yes, sir. I questioned that with my staff as I was going over it this morning too. I just wanted to make sure, so glad you asked that question.
Okay, well, I want to make sure that this is in a Central High neighborhood. It's what, a couple of blocks from Central High School.
Yes, sir.
They have pretty active neighborhood associations, so I want to make sure that they all know what's going on. And in effect, this is a short-term rental application, even though it said we're going to use it for long-term rental, but we want the option to use it for a short-term rental. To me, it's a short-term rental because it's going to go towards our number of approved.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Director Phillips?
Thank you, Mayor. This is also on number 13 for Brad. Is this our first one of these kind of hybrid, long-term, short-term rentals? PDC?
I think this is the only one that I can remember that has been called out as such. I think that probably that there has been ones that have been used for short-term rentals that are also using them now as long-term rentals. I think that there's a group that, you know, they go through and they get their short-term rentals approved, but if someone wants to come and rent it for 6 months, they can do that too.
Yeah, and that's what, thank you for that, because that's kind of where I was going. If you get a short term, if you want to use it as long term, you can do that. But here, if you want a long term and you want to use it for short term, then you got to designate that in the application, and this is what this applicant did.
Anything under 29 days.
Right, that's what I'm getting at.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
I just wanted to have clarity if this was the first one. Do you think this is something that's going to happen going forward? What's your sense?
I can't see this hybrid model being used or being successful. I think you really need to go one
One way or the other?
way or the other.
Okay,
But, you know, someone that needs to get their money from a property is probably going to do whatever they need to do.
okay, all right. Now, I just wanted clarity on that. Thank you, Brad.
Thank
That's all I had on that one, Mayor.
All right. Director Hines?
Yes, Brad, on 11, on this abandonment of the right-of-way,
Yes, sir.
was that, I'm kind of at a crux. We've got a future expansion of Canis Road there. I want to make sure we're not giving up something we're going to try to go back and condemn later.
Right. It's the only ask was it's 7,830 square feet of right-of-way abandonment from Atkins to Trumpler along Canis Road.
Is this staff's request or?
This was made by, I believe, Mr. White was the applicant for this.
Okay. I'd like a little more information on that because
Yes, Broadway Fairfield Incorporated is the adjacent owner, Joe White and Associates, the agent.
okay, I'll reach out to Joe, get a little explanation on this. Thanks.
All right. On the separate items, anything on 14, Director Phillips?
On number 14, I know this was discussed a couple weeks ago, and I was out of town for that. I believe I was out of town, work stuff, I was out. But I want to share my concerns about this proposed resolution. I know there was a discussion, and the city attorney mentioned that the law requires or allows that the mayor to make this election, and I know, Mayor, you were pretty vocal about what would happen if this was approved. But I also want to share some like logistical concerns with my colleagues, but as we think about this for the next week. Number one, as I read the ordinance, 3 of us will conduct the interview of a candidate. So that means that's a meeting. So that means we got to give public notice under FOIA. So that's one thing to be concerned about in this. Secondly, I don't know how we will select the 3 of us. Since I've been on the board, we hadn't done anything like this. I don't even know how that's contemplated, how we determine which 3 of us would be the 3. I don't know when that conversation would happen. Does it happen in a board meeting, a regular meeting, executive session? That's unclear. It's also unclear where the list of candidates are coming from. It just said that we will select some folks. I don't know if there's a list out there or we just gonna call people we know and ask them, do they want to be the city manager? Another question I had, I'm looking at notes to myself. The 3 members, when they make their selection, do they report back to the board first, or does it go directly to the mayor? Do the other 7 of us get input on who the 3 selected, or are those 3 the only ones that get to make input? I don't know when the interviews will happen, how they will be coordinated and structured. It doesn't outline how many selections this selection committee is aiming to present to the mayor. So I don't know if they're gonna present 1 person to you, mayor, or 100 people to you. These are all like ground level logistical concerns that are secondary to the bigger concern, which is the law requires you to make the decision. So even if we did all this work and it was the 3 of us and we came up with a list of 100, as I understand it, you can just say no to everyone on that list, and then you just can select the person that you want us to vote on. So then that would be just a big waste of time. So I have logistical concerns about this. There are legal concerns on whether this is effective. I have FOIA concerns about 3 people in an interview with a person. And do we call Joe? Does Joe sit in that interview? Or anyone at any other publication? It just doesn't seem like this is the way we need to go legally, logistically, or practically. So with all those concerns, I'm gonna be voting no. But I wanted to add that to the discourse and for our thoughts as we get ready to vote on this next week. And I'm happy to hear from, I know Vice Mayor Wire is your resolution, so happy to hear your responses to those questions, if you have any at this time.
Vice Mayor Warwick.
It's good when you have an attorney in the room that's looking at this stuff. I introduced this a couple of weeks ago, I guess, and asked for it to be on the agenda for June 17th. And I did it because we don't have a city manager in place. We've been 19 months without one. We have an applicant that we haven't voted on. I don't think there's a desire to support that applicant. And so I'm trying to look forward in the city to help us get to that position. In January, I suggested to the mayor that we have 3 people from the board look at the applications and come up with 3 names that he could look at, and then he can nominate and the board would approve it. The mayor said that it was illegal and he was gonna veto it, and really and truly, when you look at the ordinance or the law, it says that the mayor will nominate and the board will affirm. And so that would satisfy that he would be able to make the nomination. My thoughts about this, and you're the only one that's asking any questions, that's why I said it's good to have a lawyer in the room. My thoughts were that we first would possibly independently review the applicants that have, the people that have applied. And that would not take a group meeting, okay? That would only be, you would get a file, you would look at it, and then you would review it. And then the 3 people on the board would make suggestions of who they liked and try to come to some rationale as to which 3 that we would do. Now, if the group gets together and they say there's not anybody on here that we want, maybe open applications. I didn't design the three-board member for myself. I had three people in mind that I would like to do this. There is a question about, the FOI piece. I'm sure we can get past that. I'm not sure, I'm not an attorney as you are, so maybe we could figure that out. But it's basically to look at who we have because we only got one. The mayor said that there was nobody in the city or nobody in Arkansas that would qualify for a board position. And I'm interested in somebody that, this is me personally, the rest of the board can talk about it, but I'm looking for somebody that has experience as a city manager, 5 to 7 years, somebody has supervision skills, somebody that has embraced the community, been in some sort of volunteer situation, and then someone that would love the city and love their job. And that's one of the beauties, I think, about Bruce Moore when we had him, was that was his driving thing, that he loved the community, he loved his job. So I probably haven't answered all your questions. What did I leave out? It was rapid response there.
So thank you for that, and I appreciate the dialogue. I understand what you mentioned about the 4 year. If three people are going to interview someone, just sitting here right now, I don't know how you get around 4 year in that regard, because that makes it a meeting talking city business. So I think that's still a concern, and I do get what you're saying, that the law requires the mayor to present a person to us, but if the three people on this board select someone, the mayor has authority not to pick any of those people. I'm not saying he will. I don't know what he'll do. I don't know who the people are.
Just
I
like
don't
he
know
has
which
the
three of us
authority to veto.
will be on the board,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying we can go through that process, and then the mayor, who ultimately gets to make the selection, could say no. So then everything we done was for naught. So to me, it could be inefficient use of everyone's time if we went through this process,
Well,
knowing what the law allows the mayor to do.
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not wanting to just have a frivolous pursuit of three names to give to the mayor. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I think it's an important process. The current process that we had did not have any elected officials involved in it. It was staff people, and I think each one of us here that are ward representatives, we represent 30,000 people, maybe a little more.
And at large, we
and
represent
that-
200,000.
I know. At large, you represent the whole city.
Yep.
And so you ought to have a say-so in who you appoint or who you approve that's going to deal with our citizens, that's going to deal with the board, that's going to deal with our employees. I think it's important that we have a part of that process, which we have not. So that's what I'm trying to drive to, is that the board is involved in the process. Not trying to take away the nomination from the mayor. I'm only trying to add some input from the board to the possible next city manager. And can I ask a question of the attorney to help you with your
Of course you can.
to help you with your questions? If the city board got to a point where they wanted to talk about the applicants that they all agreed on or wanted to converse about that, can they not go into executive session? It is a personnel issue. Do we not have the capability to do that?
To first start kind of foundationally,
Right.
the Arkansas Freedom of Information Act, both in the statutory and as well as opinions of the Attorney General, anytime two members of the body meet on any subject, it is subjected to the Arkansas open meeting law.
I get
And
that.
so we would have to, by law, put a notice. We would have to allow the public to have access to that meeting. It doesn't matter if you are meeting three in the same room or three separately. If you are working in concert toward a public objective, it would fall under the Arkansas Freedom of Information Act. It would have to be noticed, and we would have to provide the public an opportunity to hear that. Now, when it comes to actual personnel matters, yes, you can go into executive session on those matters, but
And 3 members of the board could do that.
We have to be in an actual body meeting to do that. You cannot,
Yes.
3 members cannot go into executive session.
yeah, the
without
3
full body.
members could not go into executive session. The whole body, if you had a final finalist or something to that effect. But again, I think it's very important to understand what is in our Little Rock Municipal Code. And it's found in section 2-110. And it was passed by the board in 2007. And it says that the mayor, and this is subsection B1, it says the mayor shall have the authority to nominate, hire, or remove the city manager. And when this was passed in 2007, it was placed before the voters of Little Rock to ratify the ordinance. And so it, to me, and how I would give a legal opinion on this would be that even if this resolution were to pass, the mayor would have no obligation in the law to have to follow the recommendation even of a subcommittee, because this section of the Little Rock Municipal Code says the mayor shall. There's no language that gives any alternate scenario other than the mayor shall appoint, nominate, remove the city manager. The involvement of
Make sure
this-
you say subject to the city board. I wanna be
Subject to
very-
the, subject to
clear.
the city board, which is also in the same section. And it speaks to that. And so the board's input takes place in the ratification of what the mayor has bringing forward to the board for consideration. The board has the authority by ordinance and the Little Rock Municipal Code to vote up or vote down the mayor's nomination.
But I'm not taking his authority away with this. I'm not saying that he doesn't nominate. I'm trying to interject the city board in the process. You know what it's like to make sausage? I mean, you've heard stories about when you make sausage. There's a whole lot of pieces, seasoning, things that go into sausage. But when you get to the end product, you've got a good tasting a piece of sausage. What I'm saying is we hand the sausage off to him for him to look at and make nominations from that. I'm not
But I'm
certain that
pescatarian, so.
Yeah. I knew you'd like that scenario.
I apologize. I couldn't bear not to say that.
Give him the sausage, and then he looks at it. And, I mean, if he is really serious about giving us 3 nominations that we really love, then why not interject the board into the process? That's what I'm trying to do with this. I'm
And-
not.
And
I'm
hold
not
on,
trying to-
we're gonna keep order. Director Miller actually has had his
Well,
hand
I
up.
wasn't finished with,
I understand, Vice Mayor Wyrick, but multiple people are talking, so I, as chair, am getting order. So I'm
okay,
trying
who
to,
has the floor?
a number of people had the floor, so I'm taking the charge right now to make certain that Director Phillips doesn't interject, and nor does Director Miller, because you actually have the floor. So I'm kind of,
Do I have the floor?
I'm trying to make sure that they don't interrupt you.
All right. He's trying to confuse me. So I'm really not trying to take any power, not change the law, not change the resolution. I'm trying to interject a board presence in the process is what I'm trying to do. The mayor can still nominate. We can still affirm. It's just a difference in how we get the names to him. And I've seen the law. It doesn't outline that you got to do this step, this step, this step. It's pretty plain. He nominates, we affirm. It doesn't tell you how to get to that. And so what I'm trying to do is interject the board into how we get to the nomination for him. Now, we talked about the executive session piece of it. And I don't see a problem if the three board members start coming together with some names, if they want to call executive session, and we go ahead and talk about it. I don't see a problem with that.
That would be in violation of the law,
Why would that be in violation?
because the statutes are clear that whenever there are two or more members
I'm talking about-
of a public body, that it is subject to the open meeting law. So you cannot have a secretive trio of the Little Rock Board meeting in executive session. The
I'm
full
not
body
talking
can
about-
meet in executive session on specific personnel matters.
That's what I'm talking about.
But you would not be able to, three people go into executive session. That would be a clear violation of the law.
You already said that, I get that. What I'm
Okay.
suggesting is that if the board, the three people on the board, determined that they had names that they wanted to advance forward, we could call executive session and the full board talk about those names, is what I'm saying. I'm trying to come up with more sausage here.
And what I'm trying to legally advise you is that if three of you came into any kind of conclusion without conducting a public meeting, you would be in violation of the laws of the state.
Then we've been in violation on some other executive sessions where we've talked about personnel matters.
That's
No,
not what
that
she's
is
saying.
not a violation. What I'm clearly stating, so there's no confusion or misunderstanding of the record, is that it would be illegal for three members of this body to, a trio, to have go into executive session. It would be illegal for you outside of executive session to come to some type of agreement to bring forward to the full body, because the law is clear in the state and attorney general opinions back up what I'm saying, that whenever there are two or more of you speaking on a matter, they require that we give the public notice and that meeting would be conducted in public.
So let me be clear what my intentions are. Each board person would work independently with the information that's already within the personnel department.
Okay?
We would work independently, look at resumes, that kind of thing. And then at some point in time, if somebody has a couple of people that they're interested in, another person has a couple of people they're interested in, and we call executive session, the full body looks at those people and have a discussion.
Well, again, for you to identify two names or three names or a name, if two of y'all had that conversation, you have created a public meeting.
You're assuming we're going to talk about it. So if we have that rule, then we know we can't. I mean, we deal with that kind of rule all the time. We know what we're supposed to do, and we follow the rule. I mean,
Okay.
to me, that's not any different than our caution that we have every day in our business. We know we're not supposed to meet together, those kinds of things. We notify the press. But I'm speaking of independently working on resumes, people, and then have a full executive session to discuss those people. That's what I'm suggesting now.
All right, Director Miller.
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate all the conversation. And I certainly, Vice Mayor, appreciate what you're trying to do and trying to move this process along. I think there is a little fatigue about not having a city manager, and I understand what you're trying to do. But I too have the concerns that Director Phillips has brought up about the law being clear and what our city attorney has said. I believe that once we go through this process, if the person is not selected, maybe that the mayor has brought forward, I believe that the mayor had indicated that a member of the city board should be and would be welcome to be on the selection committee going forward. So there would be a member, if we want to do it that way, if this person, or if the person that we have currently is not approved by this body, if we go back to square one and the mayor puts together the selection committee, I believe the mayor has agreed that a member of the city board should be on that and would be welcome to be on that. I think it sort of gets to what we're doing, trying to do here. And if it's one member of the city board that's on the selection committee with other non-members of the city board, then I think we should be in good shape with that. And so I think there's a way to sort of get to this with having some board input by having a member of this body on the selection committee and not violate any FOIA, so that we can try to move this process along. Because yes, I'm concerned that we hadn't had a city manager selected in this time, but again, this process is playing itself out. This is new to us, but we hadn't faced this before. Of course, our city manager was in place for close to 30 years. Maybe wrong on some of that, more or less. But I think there is a way that we can get city board member input. And, you know, Vice Mayor, I believe that's one way to do it. But I do have concerns about your ordinance, because I couldn't in good conscience vote for it either. But I believe we can get city board input by having a member of this board on the selection committee if this person does not complete the process. And I believe, Mayor, I believe you said you would be acceptable to a situation like that.
Yes, and Director Phillips, you had anything else before I
Yeah,
make
yes, I just wanted to say real quickly about the city board involvement. The way I look at it is just like everything else on the agenda today and every other Tuesday. We're not involved in the ground level of planning issues until they come to the city board and we vote on them. That's where the city board involvement is. And the same thing with this, we are involved. We get to say yes or no to whoever the person is. That's the ultimate involvement. If I get to decide whether this person is hired or not, I can't get any more involved in that, in my opinion. So I don't want the public to think that the city board is not involved, because it's going to be us who say yes or no to whoever the person is. So just like we say yes or no to public hearing item number 15, we get to say yes or no to this person. So I would say that we are involved. The law that was passed by the people of Little Rock in 2007 requires us to be involved that way. So I just wanted to share that, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Just want to, first and foremost, I don't want us to, I'm going to make a few comments, don't want us to spend a whole lot of time. As I shared last week, to me, this is pretty much moot. One, because we'll have someone for the city board to consider in the month of June. I want to go into executive session at that appropriate time, not today, clearly, because we're not at a special call board meeting. We didn't let the press know 2 hours ahead of time, based off the FOIA law, to discuss that particular person. In the mean, so that's number one. Number two, there's only one elected official that determines hiring of staff. That's state law, and that's the mayor, except for 3 cities in the whole entire state of Arkansas. And so that's always been the case. And yes, Director Miller, I shared during the executive session that if we couldn't come to terms, because again, the ultimate involvement, as Director Phillips just shared, you all say yes or no. It doesn't get any more involved than that, because what's going to happen is if I put forth someone who doesn't have the votes, I have to rethink, retool, and bring someone else. That's the ultimate involvement from that standpoint. But as I shared last week, I'm going to pass out my written veto, so it's already in place if it's passed next week. So it's it doesn't even, we don't have to go too much further than that. From that standpoint, I do not believe that the veto will be overridden. It takes 8 votes to override a mayor's veto based off of state law. So I want to go ahead and put that into the record with the city attorney. So this is already taking place. This is the proper way to do it. You can do it by voice, but also we want to do it, make it extra weighty by doing it in writing. From that standpoint, I understand, well, first and foremost, I want to let you know what this city staff has done. We really want to walk through, we do know the untimely and tragic death of our brother and dear friend and Bruce T. Moore. He transitioned on October the 14th of 2023. We did not even start because we wanted, when you have someone who's such a fabric of the community and a part of City Hall, we did not even start the initial process until February of 24 because we wanted adequate time for grieving here at City Hall. I will tell you, there are still members of City Hall that are still grieving now, not even 2 years later from that standpoint. And so we were very deliberate not to start the process until February. You have to also understand that we have a hybrid form of government, much like the cities of Baltimore, Washington, D.C., where there's a strong mayor and a chief administrative officer, where the mayor appoints that person subject to their city council or their city board. The difference that we have, again, the ultimate involvement here in Little Rock is not only does the city board subject to affirms a mayor's appointment, the mayor cannot fire the city manager or the city attorney without the city board's approval. So that's the ultimate involvement from that standpoint, when other cities is just to affirm the vote, and a mayor doesn't even have to go to the city council to fire someone as it relates to those two particular positions. I say that all to say, this has been voted on by the people, voted on by the board in 2007. Maybe I wasn't the person that people had in mind in this process, and I also understand that we had a city administrator and city manager in Bruce T. Moore who's been here 20 years. I understand that process is not going to be easy, and you have to be deliberate. So from a period of February to about December, we looked at close to 80 plus applications. And to be quite frank, it wasn't, we were expecting a little bit more, but it was 80. We went through that process. We came down to 3 individuals. And so I want to really correct the record. I did not say there's not anybody in Arkansas could not have this position, Vice Mayor Wyrick. What I said was it wasn't 3 people from Arkansas that made the top 3. So from that standpoint, I've looked at one particular person who has interviewed with many of the board members. We did have some scheduling issues with 2 board members. We finally got that done towards March of this year. And then we go through a number of different other processes to get to the point to bring that person before the city board. And so any person that we bring before the city board, that'll happen in executive session. I'm not going to share the name of who the person is or who the person could be. You all will have to make a vote, and that's the process. And to me, number one, this ordinance is frivolous. It's 2, it flies in the face of what the people voted on. Number 3, it's non-transparent and illegal based off the statute. And so that's why I issued the veto. We can keep talking about it, but I don't think it's going to be overridden, and you all will have someone in the month of June to vote on. And if you all vote this person down, because I have the authority, I could even change my mind on the applicant that I sent. And long as you all still know who the person is, you all still have that authority to vote down. But as I shared with Director Miller, if you all vote someone down, I'll reopen the process, and as mayor, I can include a person in the selection process. That happens all the time. Director Hines he's a member of Little Rock Water Reclamation Authority. He was asked to be a part of that selection process. He can get some of the information. He signed some waivers or whatever. That's a part of it. But we won't be having three elected members doing that process. That's not going to happen on my watch. And so we can keep having this frivolous conversation, this illegal conversation, and this conversation that flies in the face of what the people voted on. Vice Mayor.
Frivolous. I put a lot of thought into how we can have participative government in the process of the city manager. So, and I'm not flying in the face of being illegal. As I stated, it doesn't tell you how to make sausage. It tells you nominate and the board approves. So I take offense to that. I'm not trying to circumvent your power. I'm trying to move this process along. It's been a long time. We've been all year talking about the possible appointment. We've had 3 interim city managers. There's a transition time from one to the other to the other. things get lost, things have to be repeated, things have to be done again. That's not efficient. And so that's the reason why I'm bringing this forward. I appreciate your comments, but I just want you and everybody that's watching to know this is not frivolous. This is trying to be good government, transparent, and get the best for what's going on in the city.
I take offense to your comments, and it is frivolous, and the good government is that we all are elected to our positions. I'm elected mayor to make this decision. You're adding something to the law that what the people didn't vote on. It's illegal, it's also non-transparent, and it's gonna be vetoed. So we can keep going back and forth, but that's probably not productive. Director Lewis?
To move the to move the process along, I know that's what everyone wants. Can you give the date of when we will have somebody?
June
to-
17th.
Okay, thank you.
That's our next executive session. All right, any more questions on the remaining items, 15 through 18? Director Adcock?
Yes, I would like a presentation on 17 and 18.
Yes, ma'am. Number 17, Z9891-B. Several residents living on North Woodrow Street, represented by the Baber Law Firm, are appealing the Planning Commission's action in approving a special use permit to allow a group home in the R3 zone property at 205 North Woodrow Street. This is located in Ward 3. This is a 4,650 square foot home. They are requesting 11 residents to be at this property. Pretty similar with number 18, owned by the same group. 18 is Z9892-B. David and Beth Deere are appealing the Planning Commission's actions and approving a special use permit to allow a group home in the R2 zone property at 822 North Monroe. This is also located in Ward 3. This one is for 8 residents. Again, the first one, 17 and 18, are asking for 1 to 2 staff members. This one is a smaller home, 2,800 square feet, and it has, parking for both.
Okay, are these homes for specific use?
Yes, ma'am. These are group homes used for to house people with chemical substance abuse issues.
Okay, what types of restrictions do they have?
What type of restrictions do they have?
I know that the ones that we looked at one time out Otter Creek and everything, they had to have a person with them, I believe, when they left the premises.
I don't think that there's, I don't think that these, they can come and go as they please. I don't think there's any restrictions on if someone has to be with them or not. I think this is a voluntary.
Okay, do they have employment, and how long are they at these sites?
I do not know. I guess the length, I couldn't guess the length of someone's recovery.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Director Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. Brad, I heard you say on 17 it'd be 11 people,
Yes, sir.
and how many at 18?
18 is 8 people.
8 people, okay,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Director Hines?
Lynette, could you please recite to us what Tom said the city ordinance and rule is on this? If it's 4, is it 4 or 8 unrelated individuals?
I'd almost defer to
And-
Brett.
It's
As it
4
relates to-
unrelated individuals can live together. I think that the number 8 has been, talked about when it comes to group homes, but I will certainly toss back to the city attorney on that one.
Yes. And within the context of, group homes, just keep in mind that we have to remain compliant both as relates to the Americans with Disabilities Act and individuals who have, substance abuse issues are among those that qualify under that umbrella of Americans with Disability Act, as well as the Federal Fair Housing Act. And so it would be unlawful for us to say that people with these substances recovery issues can only live in certain neighborhoods. The law is clear in the federal law that they can make applications and ultimately live in any neighborhood of the city.
But the federal law recognizes that what we recognize when it comes to group homes is the number 8, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Vice Mayor Wyatt,
Mine's on a different topic, so if someone,
you can carry on. Think anybody else has anything?
I can carry on, okay. We all had a storm in April, where we had lots of tree damage, in the city, and 2 of my neighborhoods were hit extremely hard, Meadowcliff and then Western Hills. I got a phone call last week about 7808 Lassie Lane, and I went over there and visited with the individual about it, and the city is wanting to charge, first they said $299, and now they're saying $145. As I look down Lassie Lane, there are 7 other houses that are on that lane. It's a cul-de-sac. They all have trees in front of them. They all have limbs in front of them. And so I remember when the storm came through, you and I talked about how we were going to take care of the debris that was left. And I remember you saying that if we get the stuff to the curb, that Public Works will pick it up.
That's incorrect. I discussed it with the entire board. We discussed that if we were able to get FEMA money, because there was going to be some disparity across the entire city and to how you get into the private property and then cutting up these large trees. We have not received the FEMA money, and I shared that with the board. So I want to make sure we are very clear on that.
I thought there was a FEMA designation that we got, is the reason why
No,
I'm bringing
ma'am.
that up.
We didn't get
Okay.
any FEMA designation.
So then all these people on Lassie Lane, which is cul-de-sac, then we've given them estimates to pull those trees out of their front yards. And do we have, what are we doing in the other parts of the city? I mean, is there not trees down?
If there are trees down right now, come on, Manish too, and Grant as well. If there are trees, we have yard waste. So if you have yard waste, you take your yard waste to the curb. Now, if your yard waste is in excess, and it, just like any other time, you are charged based off of the amount for it to be picked up. What's been discussed, this is what happened in April is completely different than what happened on March 31st, 2023, when we had the FEMA disaster relief designation. Quite frankly, we had tons of money and we're going to be reimbursed from that standpoint. And so we didn't have the money, quite frankly, to do it because the president, federal government denied Arkansas at the time, Arkansas's request. Later amended that, and there was an appeal. The governor made outreach to the administration, and that appeal was revived, and I believe 35 to 40% of the request was then approved in 6 of the 9 counties, which did not include Pulaski County, and how we were hit were sporadic. And so again, as I shared with each member of the city board, because there were a lot of conversations about, let's just go ahead and pick it up now. We got to go into the back of the yards, and it was going to bring some legal issues and liability with insurance companies. And ultimately, legally, that was the decision was made that we could not do it. And plus, we also didn't have the money to backfill to do it from that standpoint. And so right now, if there is anything in excess, even today, someone had a tree fall down. We talked about You go through that process, we'll come out and determine how much it is and then move forward, just like it's always been outside of March 31st, 2023.
Okay, so that was part of my question. I thought I read somewhere where there was a FEMA designation that was given. So, can we say how many people are in this state of flux where we have quoted dollars for them to remove or to pay for removal of trees that are, not gonna be picked up by Public Works? Do we have any way to quantify that? Because in Western Hills, I'm seeing a lot.
We
Yeah.
do have a list of people who have reached out to us and we've given quotes out to, and I believe we can get that information to
Okay,
you.
I'd like to have that. Like I'm saying, for at least this one street, I don't know if you've been down there or not. I know some of your staff have, but it's devastating. They have to drive through there every day and see all of this, tree trunks and, in the right of way. And I'd like to figure out a way to help them. And so that's the reason why I was wanting to know about the FEMA designation. But I'd like to know how many people are, have this issue.
Yes, ma'am.
If you can provide that for me.
I will.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Director Hines?
So, Manish and Grant, so I know when we redid trash pickups last time with the rates, we determined that there was so many free large item or knuckle bum for a year. Okay. So if somebody's got something outside of that, that's why we would be charging them, correct?
Correct. So anything that's, that doesn't fall under the yard waste category, which is anything that's, bigger than 6 inches in diameter or more than 6 feet in length, that doesn't fall under the yard waste pickup category. So that's what we would come out and measure, and we provide estimates to the owner to haul it off.
So we don't provide any free knuckle boom pickup. I thought we had a caveat that there was, I'm just trying to clarify. I think that's where some of this confusion's from.
So we do offer 4 free bulky item pickups per year to residents. And that bulky item is classified as appliances, refrigerators, furniture, that kind of stuff. Yard waste and tree debris does not qualify.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Manish. Any more questions? Seeing none, meeting adjourned. Oh. All right, I didn't see that. I apologize.
We received this today, and I would like to have one of our fire chiefs come up and invite everyone to these events that's coming up this coming week.
Yes, Chief Durham.
Uh-huh. Chief Durham or Chief Dome, either one. Do you need my copy?
I think I can wing it. So, yeah, we just recently put into service 5 new pumper trucks. And what we're doing starting tomorrow is we're doing what we call a push-in ceremony. It's a ceremonial thing where we wash the truck down real quick with some water, say a few words, and we physically push it into the station to show it back in service, to put it into service. So we're openly inviting anyone that can attend. We have a schedule posted for tomorrow. I believe we have one posted for Thursday and one for Friday. So please feel free to join us at any time. It's a low-key event, but we're more than happy to have you.
We'll be there.
We actually have 5 events.
Yes, ma'am. Oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Invite all the different areas of Little Rock to come see our new fire trucks.
Sure. So tomorrow, June 11th, beginning at 1 o'clock is Station 2 at 9th and Sherman. 2 o'clock, Station 11 on University. And at 3 o'clock, Station 16 at Cantrell and Southridge.
You got me scheduled, guys.
We're going to go fast. All right. Well, we'll rinse it off. We'll rinse it off. Thursday, June 12th. Yeah. Station 15 at 1 o'clock. And then Friday, June 13th, Fire Station number 6 on Roosevelt at 1 o'clock, right across from the fairgrounds.
All right. Director Miller, then see Director Peck. Thank you, Chief Durham.
Yeah, thank you.
Chief,
Yes,
let me
sir.
quickly,
Yes, sir.
are we physically pushing these
No.
trucks in? I mean, you start them up and they
Yeah,
back
we'll
up.
have it started, the driver will be in the
So-
seat, and it'll be in reverse, it'll just kind of be a push, but yeah. No,
Okay.
no one's gonna be pushing, we'll just kind of guide it in.
Oh, okay. I plan on going, but
We don't want anybody hurt, we don't want anybody hurt.
You're not gonna get hurt, Director Miller. I think you're strong enough to make it move.
I look strong.
Director Peck.
Thank you, since, nothing for you, Chief Durham, but speaking of, the fire station.
June 17th.
Okay. Read my mind.
Because I shared it last week. I told you all we're still running the numbers, but
Running the
we'll just add it on the
Okay.
agenda.
And the reason I'm asking is it's finally hot, and I know that some of those big ticket items, like the HVAC units, I'd hoped we'd have them before the summer, but
And
soon.
as a brief,
Especially Station 15 and all y'all are sweating in this heat. Okay.
and as a brief reminder, board members, is the ordinance is not solely for the fire department, and I know it's, Director Peck, part, and I'm just going from memory, I don't see, Nick, is Nick here? Nick, if you'll just if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, but I think the ordinance that you're gonna have before you is gonna be a compilation of, different things. It's gonna be 2.5 million for firehouse capital expenditures. It's gonna be $2 million for the micro home village, because increased construction costs. It's gonna be $500,000 for zoo improvements, part of the zoo master plan and the 100th celebration. $500,000 for summer youth employment opportunities. That's gonna come later this year, but yes. And, Oakland, I don't know with your ordinance, I don't know if I'm joking. 150,000 for Oakland. 150,000 for Oakland Cemetery. And what else am I missing? That's it?
What's that?
The bridge lights will come later. They're still going through a bidding process, so we want to have the right amount from that standpoint. So this is something we've already all discussed, but it'll be added to the agenda. And since I'm already going through it, we won't even do a modification. We'll just put it on the consent item. So, that good with everybody? Thank you. All right. I mean, it's available once the board members say vote yes. It's available to start the process. But Director Adcock, I do want to set expectation, and also to Director Peck and to anyone watching, on the 2.5 million for the capital expenditures for firehouses. I mean, some things. The Chief Durham and Chief Doan, they've gone through a process led by Chief Hubbard on how to start that process and what's available. Some things may take additional estimates, so you're not going to see something be spent on day one. It still has a process, and then some things have to be a contracting process too. So I just want to be set the expectation that it just didn't happen overnight. But the good thing is Chief Hubbard led and now administered through Chief Durham and Chief Doan, a lot of groundwork has already been done. So we'll add. So Chief Hubbard, if you'll just once Nick sends you everything, we will then just put it a part of the consent agenda. All right, thank you, Vice Mayor Wyatt.
Yeah, I talked to the chief about this today, but Fire Station 18 has got the small flashing lights to let you know that the fire trucks are coming out of the fire station. And Saturday night I was coming through, lights didn't flash, here's a fire truck. So that's one of those items that is a health and safety issue that we need to address early on in the process. That's it.
Yeah, you're right. Director Peck, did you have anything else? No, I'm sorry. All right, see everyone next week. Director.
Just wanted to present to the board, anybody have any questions about the professional services document? I forwarded it to you guys on Monday.
All right, meeting adjourned.